Hello, friends. Welcome back to Stylist Soul Tribe Conversations. I have a very special guest here today. I know she is a little nervous to be on a podcast. This is the first time she's ever been on a podcast. I was actually just looking, Kim, before I we got on. I was like, what did your application say a year ago? I was just trying to, so much happens in a year. I was trying to refresh my memory. Like, where was Kim at a year ago? How has the year gone? I feel like I know you in some ways really, really well. Like maybe it's been longer than a year, but then obviously in other ways, I'm sure I'm even going to learn a whole lot more about you today. And you said that you started following me back the very first episode that I was on Brit's podcast. I mean, in like 2018, that's what you put in your application. I vividly remember how nervous I was to be on my first podcast episode. I told her like, don't worry, it's not stressful. It's not as scary as you think it's going to be. But truth be told, guys, I was going to do a solo episode this week. And if you guys listen to the podcast somewhat regularly, you know I kind of don't love doing solo episodes. I hate just talking to myself and trying to put together enough sentences that make sense with nobody else to kind of bounce my thoughts off of. But we are not going to have an episode for the next 2 weeks because Wednesday falls on Christmas Day and New Year's Day. So I was going to come on, I was going to do a solo episode. I was going to do one final like reminder, touch on the vision casting workshop, which is January 2nd and 3rd, and say like, you guys aren't going to hear from me for a couple of weeks. I'm taking a little bit of a hiatus for the holidays. I was going to get that recorded this morning anyway. Today's Monday. So this podcast episode is going to come out in 2 days. And then I was on Kim's Soul Tribe call on Friday. Stylist Soul Tribe 13 had their call on Friday. She was just sharing kind of her intention for 2025, talking about everything that has happened in this last year, talking about how much progress she's made, talking about how she wants to really transition her focus into her personal life in 2025 because she went so hard on her business in 2024. And then was like, and honestly, Lisa, a lot of that wouldn't have happened without Soul Tribe. And I was like, I'm just gonna need that like in testimonial form, joking around. But then we got off and I really was like laughing about it. But I was also like, Kim is somebody that I think of. I mean, no offense to everybody in Soul Tribe. I literally love you all so, so much. But like when I think of Kim, she is like spot on what I'm looking for when it comes to a member of Stylist Soul Tribe. She is committed. She's balanced. Her family is important to her. Her personal life is important to her. She does the work in her business. She's focused. When she says she's going to do something, she actually does it. And it has been nearly a full year now since I have been in her life coaching her. She's been part of Stylist Soul Tribe. And what she has achieved in the last year is actually mind-boggling. Kim will also share that now her focus is going to be personal because she has done the work. And I just think she's such a testament to somebody who came to the vision casting workshop last year, showed up fully participated, joined Stylist Soul Tribe, got super connected with her tribe right off the bat, comes to every single call, does the work, sets her intention, follows through, and I'm just very amazed by her and very impressed by her. So I really threw this on her last minute. It was actually on Friday. I was like, do you want to jump on Monday morning and do a podcast episode with me? And she's like, oh my God, let me see if I have childcare. I'm really nervous, but she agreed to come on. So I just want her to share a little bit about her story leading up to our paths connecting, what this last year has looked like for her, and what she plans on 2025 looking like for her. Because I hope that someone listening to this maybe sees themselves in Kim this time last year, because she really is a testament to what can take place in a single year if you're really intentional and you're really focused. Kim, go ahead and do a little intro, who you are, where you're from. We'll talk a little bit about your story leading up, and then we'll kind of dive into what this last year has looked like for you. How does that sound?
It sounds good.
All right, take it away.
Okay, so I have been doing hair for 18 years.
Amazing.
And I started at a Supercuts, and it was what it was, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's a starting point. Absolutely.
it was a good starting point. They offered training. I feel like I got really proficient in cutting because that's all you do, really.
Yeah.
My hair journey goes back and forth. So
Okay.
I went to college and then stopped college and then went to
Okay.
beauty school because it's what I always knew I wanted to do. And then I
Okay.
went back to college.
Okay.
And then I studied abroad and
So
did,
you've almost had this like on again, off again relationship with this career.
yes. Well,
Okay.
the break was just for school, really.
Okay. And what
Um,
did you study that next time you went back to college and you studied abroad?
I was a business major.
Okay.
So I went abroad, but I was doing haircuts like in the dorms in England, like just to get me spending money and whatever.
Amazing.
Came back and started working in a commission salon. I did that for maybe 6 years.
Okay.
It was a big salon. We had like 50 employees
Mm-hmm.
and worked my way up there. Eventually became the color educator there, like for the girls coming into the salon. And I really liked that like one-on-one thing. And then the pandemic happened and I don't know. I got a couple signs. I did some courses. I decided to go out on my own, which we were like in the middle of the shutdown. And
I think a lot of people can relate to that though, because we're going into 2025 and it is, again, time is such a trip for me, if you guys can't tell. The fact that that was 5 years ago, but I feel like everybody, when they tell their story, it's like pre-COVID and post-COVID. Like it really was a
turning
ripple in the universe. Yeah.
So I went on my own. I mean, I had a good knowledge of doing hair.
Yeah.
And I had that foundation like from my business degree. So I felt like I can do this, right? Like,
you were already feeling called to leave the commission salon and go solo. And then we had the weird ripple in the universe of COVID. And you were like, this is now the weirdly enough signs.
I was completely content at my job until we closed down. I used to say my 5-year plan was to open a salon. And then I remember calling my mom and being like, my 5-year plan, I think turned into a 2-month plan. I think
it's time.
It's time.
It was like a reset button.
Yeah. And for me, once I decide something isn't working, I'm going to do everything I can in that moment to figure out what's next and just take the next step. I went out on my own and that's when I joined Thrivers and really just wanted to build in the best way possible with good company and good leaders and make a good foundation for myself. Yeah, that was in 2020.
Amazing. And then you've been doing lots of work. So explain a little bit about like your salon setup. Because even when I was thinking about introducing you, I'm like, a studio suite doesn't sound correct. It's like a studio salon. I mean, if you guys are watching on video, her space is behind her. It is beautiful, but it's just you there. So explain a little bit about like what your setup is, how you found it, and that journey.
So it's funny. I actually started at a Sola and I was there for 3 months. And then a hairdresser in a Facebook group had posted a link about commercial sites. So I was like, oh, let me just click on this. And I was just looking up what was in the area. And I found a space that was only 10 minutes from where I was. Now, I had only been in my space 3 months. I had this nagging feeling like I had to go look at the space. And then I had a dream about it. And in the dream, I literally saw like these 2 giant windows with brick around them. So I just one day after work drove by the place and I peeked in the window and they were 12-foot windows that are 6 feet wide. I reached out to the people and I said, can I put a salon in this space? Because I knew it was a therapy office, the sign was still on the door. And they were like, yeah, let's do it. And I reached out to my Sola person and all these things happened. I ended up having to wait 9 months for the zoning to get fixed in the building. But so right on my like 1 year anniversary, I was starting in my
alignment.
Yeah, in my new. So in the span of a year, I moved from a commission salon to a Sola to building out an office.
Fascinating. So then fast forward into beginning of 2024, you were at the vision casting workshop. You were super active during it. That just stands out to me. Same way I don't love doing solo podcast episodes. It also scares the shit out of me to do like live webinar type things where I'm just like speaking into a void rather than a one-on-one conversation like this. And so when people are super active during workshops, I love it because it gives me people to bounce conversation off of, because that's definitely where I thrive. So I remember Kim being super active, completing her board, seeing her board. I actually went into the Facebook group and pulled up, I searched your name and I looked at your board. Try to think back. Again, I know time is a trip. Try to think back to the beginning of this year or very end of last year, 1 year ago. Where would you say your intention was? How were you feeling at that time?
So I'm going to back you up a little bit more. So July before that, so July 2023, I had done the Modern Hairstylist Summit. I don't know if you put it on or you were a part of it.
I mean, I was like a very small part of it. I just like submitted a little video that I assumed nobody was watching, which is such a stupid assumption.
In that time, you had announced that Soul Tribe was open. It was like, so it was on my radar. But I just felt like this isn't the time for me. It doesn't feel
clearly intuitive.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Yeah.
get
So
better with
like
it.
for someone like me, I'm like, I understand completely. You don't need, there's no other words needed. But for some people, that's really a struggle of like, is now the time? Is now not the time? But you just knew it wasn't time yet, but I was
Yeah,
on your radar.
yes.
Okay.
But so my thought was, oh, she must open this every year, right? Like, so every July,
Mm.
and my birthday's in July. So I'm like, next
Yeah.
year, that's my birthday present. I'm going to join Soul Tribe. And then I saw the vision casting workshop, and I have always wanted to make a vision board. Like,
Mhm.
I make Pinterest boards. I have like cut out pictures, but I've never like really gone all in and like done the thing. And so I was really excited when I saw, and I blocked out time for it,
Mhm.
and was like, I am going all in on all
Yeah.
of this, the workbook, the vision board. But I had no idea at the time that you also open the doors to Soul Tribe.
Okay.
That I had no idea. So
Okay. Amazing.
yeah.
So you're ready to do all these things that you've seen in the past. You see people talk about vision boards and do vision boards, and you're like, I really should do that sometime. But then you're finally like, okay, here's a time and a space to do it. You fully committed, you fully did it. And I don't mean to be ridiculous or too woo-woo, but you guys, I promise that probably has something to do with why your year went the way that it did. So now, thinking of during the vision casting workshop, I know you've made a lot of changes this year, schedule, prices, eliminating services, revamping your retail. What would you say your intention was at the beginning of 2024? Like, did you just want to kind of dial some things in? Where do you would you say your focus was?
So I really just took everything one step at a time with your workshop. Like I've done other things in the past where I'm like, oh, I'll go back to that. I'll get to that.
Hmm.
I'll skip this part and then I'll do it later. And you never do. And
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna do every single thing because I am ready for my 2024 to just
Hmm.
be exactly what I want it to be.
Hmm.
I'm looking for from day one from my business, my thought was slow, sustainable growth. Like I never wanted to be one of those people who blew up overnight. I wanted to grow at a rate that I could adjust things at
So
all.
wise. Hmm.
Yeah, so that I never felt completely overwhelmed by it. But I did all the things that you said to do. I
Hmm.
created this beautiful sacred space in my room, and I really got intentional with my time about all of this. And then I really wanted to work on personal stuff and business stuff.
Yeah.
That was my intention for
Hmm.
2024. Now looking back, I realized I had to get through all of the business stuff and get it where I wanted to be able
Hmm.
to move forward. That's just
Hmm.
how my brain works.
You almost need to like create the container for you to thrive in. And I would probably combat you ever so slightly and say, I'm sure you've done more personal work than you realize, but I also love that 2025, like, okay, Kim said something and I really related to it. And some of you may relate. If you don't, that's totally props to you. Don't even pick this up and bring it with you. But Kim was saying, all I think about is my business. For the last however many years, it's all I can think about. I need to work on myself personally outside of my business. And I was like, Kim, I relate to that. I have had that feeling drop in. And while I kind of love that part about me, that is my creative process. My business is what I kind of pour myself into and my creativity. And I do think I have a good balance of time. And I definitely feel good about how I prioritize my family. But I'll be in like a meditation and I'll catch myself and be like, why the fuck am I thinking about an Instagram post right now? What
Yeah.
the fuck is wrong with my brain that I am literally thinking about either a post to put out, how a post performed? Like that is so shallow and so stupid and pisses me off. So I relate to that wholly and fully. And I am proud of you. And again, that's why I wanted to reach out to do this podcast episode because I just think it's something important to talk about. And if it's how you were feeling, and I'm like, girl, just this week I've had that thought 3 times. I'm sure
Yeah.
somebody listening to this right now is like, yes.
I think when you're driven, I mean, not to say that if you don't have these thoughts, you're not driven, but when
Yeah.
you're driven by that, it's hard to shut it off. I mean, I'd
Hmm.
be in the shower and I'd be like, oh, what could I do? You know, it'd be summertime. What can I do in the winter for my clients? And what can I do?
Yeah.
What should I do for Christmas this year? And what's the next thing? And oh,
Just
it's
really pulls you out of the present moment.
always. And
Mhm.
mine was the same. I'd be trying to meditate and I'd be like, oh, like what new strategy can I think of?
Seriously. Well, and again, like I said, I'm grateful that I am this way. I think I've built my life's work up to this point because of that. I wouldn't change that about me. But again, something so shallow as like an Instagram post during a deep ass meditation. Like, what is wrong with my brain? Anyway, so your focus in 2025 is definitely going to be personal. When I asked you that, you said kind of body, mind, soul, like you want physical health. I think a lot of people can relate to that. Let's continue to rewind just because I do want people who are in the same place as where you were a year ago to hear what it is that you've done. So in January, you were like, here's what it's going to look like. It's going to be a good balance of personal and of business. And then what order, I guess we have some notes here. What order would you say you went into? You redid your website with branding photos. I guess that kind of felt like step one. Eliminated haircut only services, started as a detox and cut. So why don't you share a little bit about that? And then just for anybody listening, I don't coach everyone to get rid of haircut onlys. I still do haircut onlys. I just encourage people to not work with people or do services that don't light them up. So tell us a little bit about how you came about eliminating haircuts and what that looked like for you this year.
That was a big struggle for me because it's not that I don't like doing haircuts. I have a large number of haircut only clients, and as much as I love them, I really love all of them, they can make weird gaps in your schedule. And so I just wanted to, I didn't want any more haircuts.
Okay.
So I don't want to get rid of the ones I have, but I was like, I don't need any more of them.
There's no reason to add that in. You'd rather, with the place that you're at and the clientele you've built, you'd rather only ideal color clients coming in moving forward. Yeah.
So I was afraid because I tend to overanalyze every decision I made. So I started by saying like, okay, instead of having just a haircut as an option, I'll do a detox and a cut. So it'll be a little bit longer of a service, a little bit more money.
What was that, 90 minutes?
Yeah, 90
rather than 60. Yeah.
And I have gotten in the last 6 months, like some really wonderful, or the 6 months leading up to when I made this decision, like some haircut only clients that I just connected with so much. And I'm like, oh my God, if I take this service away, am I going to lose out on these meeting people like this?
Yeah.
But as I got more, then I started getting the detox and cuts. And I was like, okay, this still isn't what I want. So
even if you liked the people, it was kind of messing up how streamlined your schedule could be.
Yeah. But I feel like I'm the type of person where I will make a decision and then give it a certain amount
trial
of time
period,
and correct again and again. And I'll change my decision 47 times until it feels right. So yeah. So then I finally eliminated my haircut only services from my website. So I still take haircuts that are like, if a color client wants to come in for a haircut, they can, but just getting rid of that, it finally felt like, okay, I did it.
Yeah, that felt like the right move. Then you said you redid your job form and booking sites, boundaries around coming in early and staying late. In parentheses, you put family first. So tell me more about that and what that looked like for you, because I think a lot of people can relate to that.
So that is my people pleaser coming through for sure. I just want to be convenient for people. It took me a long time to cut weekends out. Actually, I did do that before I joined Soul Tribe. I was like, you know what? I want my weekends. After I finally got rid of them, my clients were like, it's actually really nice to have our weekends back. You know, they don't have to spend a whole Sunday in a salon. But because I got rid of weekends, I was being way too flexible with my nights because those people want to work and they're going to come in after work. I would have set schedules on my, like set hours on my booking site. But if you were booking with me in person, I was going to cave. If you were going to say, can I come in at 6? I was going to be like, yeah, sure. That's fine.
So how did you shift that? Because I think a lot of people, especially when they've been doing that for like 15 years, how did you shift that?
I don't know. I had this moment where I was like, none of these people, and I love my clients, but none of them are more important than my children.
For real.
So I realized too that I was part of the problem. Like if you were telling me I want to rebook, I would say, okay, what day do you want? And then if you say Tuesday, what time do you want? I wasn't saying, okay, I have 2.
I have this.
So even just shifting that and just saying like, okay, do you want 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock has made it's on me now. And it just made it so much easier to just stick to that.
Love. Love. And realizing that every time you say yes to a client, you're actually saying no to your children, like putting that into perspective. And I think even if your clients were to hear that, they'd be like, my goodness, yes, that's what you should be doing. Absolutely. You know, like we do it to ourselves. It's not even like these people want us to bend over backwards for them. We're just so used to it. And I think if anybody heard that and thought, yeah, what day do you want? What time do you want? That should never be the verbiage being used. More so, okay, I'm here Tuesday or Thursday. Those are the two availabilities I have that week if you need to move it. And then I have 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, like you said. And then if they're like, oh, shoot, I don't get off work till 3, then you kind of say, okay, either I'm no longer here, evenings, or the soonest evening I have is this day. So you can either come in sooner during the day or you can wait a little bit longer, and just you're still giving options, but you're not just totally bending over backwards and having this free for all schedule. Because then, as Kim has learned, when you have a free for all schedule, then it's also harder to earn price increases. It kind of throws everything off. There's no structure to any of this. So speaking to that, you said you shifted to a 3-day work week. We put in parentheses lazy. I remember having that conversation. I wonder what month that was. Now that I see lazy in parentheses, I remember that being a story you were telling yourself and all of us having to pour into you on your Soul Tribe call. What time of year was that when you
Um,
shifted the schedule?
well, I took the Mindset to Magic, is that what it's called? The
Yeah.
training in January when I first started, because I
Okay.
knew I wanted to make my schedule a little more set, have the boundaries
Mhm.
around that. And I knew I wanted to work a 3-day work week, and I would put it in my schedule as a 3-day work week, but I was always adding the 4th day. So I'm not
Mhm.
sure exactly when in the year I decided to commit to
Yeah.
that.
But I
And
remember you just saying that just feels lazy to only work
I
3 days.
did.
And I'm
And
like, girlfriend, you're not only working 3 days, you're just doing hair 3 days.
I know. And that's a really hard concept.
Yeah.
Even still, to be completely honest, I only work 3 days, but I leave my books open for 4. And so like if in a month, whichever 3 days get filled up for like get
Then you get rid of the
first, I'll
day.
block the other one.
Because
So
you
if
like a
like,
little flexibility to the schedule.
yeah. So I like to have the flexibility. So I work 3 of 4 days a week, like the
Hmm.
same 4 days. But I before I had kids, I used to work 6 days a week and I worked 2 jobs, and just because why not?
You hustled.
And so I think, yeah, I really felt like if somebody knew I only worked 3 days a week, they'd be like, who
Hmm.
is she to work 3 days a week? Or like, must be nice to work 3 days a week.
Hmm.
Or, oh, she's doing price increases, but it's
But I
only
think
three
going
days a
back
week.
to the conversation about you strategizing in the shower, fair to say you do still work 6 days a week. You just don't do hair 6 days a week, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, even that, like people forget, or at least I don't give enough credit to all of the
Hmm.
behind the scenes work. I mean, doing inventory and ordering and my
I mean, that
numbers.
is most people's job. Like
Yeah.
that, what we have to do behind the scenes, that is what most people are employed to do and get paid to do. It's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah. But I think because in my mind, those tasks were not specifically bringing me money.
It
They,
wasn't a trade of time
they,
for money. But
you know
again,
what I mean?
that's where you once you, and she's saying Mindset to Magic. That's a course that I have. You guys have probably heard about it, but all Soul Tribe members have access to it inside their portal. And I talk about your dream schedule, then your dream clientele, and then your dream income. That's like the foundations of what I coach to. You having a set schedule, like I said, makes the whole rest of the system work, because then you can hit capacity of that set schedule, which then can cause your prices to go up because the market tells you you're worth more than what you're charging. And that's how you then do get paid for all those other tasks. But if not, you're just kind of running around like a chicken with your head cut off, working 6 days a week, somehow maybe also doing all these other tasks, probably not doing any of them well. And there definitely is no pay for that. But if you can really solidify the schedule and then say, okay, I do admin tasks on this day and this day at this time, the whole system works together, because then you can get paid more for those hours of all that admin work. Another thing I wanted to touch on is your kind of retail journey, which I felt like when we got on a Soul Tribe call, it kind of came out of the blue. You were like, okay, I finally got the schedule all taken care of. I got the boundaries all taken care of. You're like, my retail's a mess. First, you thought you wanted to switch retail lines, and you were
Yeah.
like, I'm not selling it well. I have so many products. I think I want to switch lines. And I told Kim, and I've said this on multiple Soul Tribe calls, I don't think I've said it on a podcast yet. The people that I have met inside of Soul Tribe that are doing retail really, really, really well are madly in love with their line. have a strategy behind it. And I have said if I was more focused on my behind the chair business, which I have not been for 6 years now, I still like to be there a couple days a week for variety, but my heart and soul has been in Soul Tribe for this long. If I were in that position, I would go hard on retail. I would research the fuck out of every single line that exists. I would find a product line that I'm madly in love with, and I would bring on a very intentional small amount of products and like really optimize my retail. And I remember saying that to you on a call, and you were like, okay, cool, that's going to be my focus for the month. And so she like got in the mega Facebook group and was like, what do you guys use for retail? And she kind of played around. And then you were like, no, I love the line that I carry.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I had over 100 product SKUs and
Okay, let's just pause. Over 100 product SKUs as a single stylist in your space.
yes, which is insane.
That is insane. Keep
I know.
going.
So I think I bought into the hype of like when I went out on my own, I had to buy the kits for the products, and I wanted a luxury line and I wanted an affordable line. And so I spent thousands and thousands of dollars buying every single product because that's what I thought I had to do. I wish I knew better. But then I realized I realized that my struggle wasn't that I didn't love my product line. I actually use my products at home on myself. For fun, I started buying some other products to try at home, and I just didn't like them. And I'm like, what is my problem? I actually really, really like what I use.
Yeah.
But when someone says I want a heat protectant and I've got 14 of them,
how do I pick for them to make a purchase? Yeah.
It's so hard. You could use this one or this one or this one. So I just decided, I mean, this was all your advice, but I looked at, okay, like what do I need for a heat protectant? What is one I could use? What is one or two deep conditioners?
So I referenced back and again, I took this years and years and years ago, but I remember back when I was in Thrivers, like in the very beginning, Britt had retail therapy. And I remember in that, hopefully she doesn't mind me sharing this tiny little tip. I'm sure it's completely different. I haven't gone through the Thrivers modules in a long, long time, but she would say that a single stylist, and this was when I was building my studio. So I remember really taking that information in and applying it. A single stylist, she said, should have 12 SKUs. And I remember when I told Kim that, she was like, there is absolutely no way I can go down to 12 SKUs because she had over 100. What are you at right now?
I'm right around 25.
Right around 25. So she scaled down her product line 75%. And I remember having that conversation with her. And I'm like, okay, Kim, so if someone says, yeah, I need a heat protectant, and you have 14 of them to choose from, the chances of them even buying, because they're going to assume, oh, if you have 14 that work well, then probably any of the other heat protectants that I see in the store would work well too. And I don't know which one of these to buy. So I'm just going to buy one at a different time. Like, that's why I said to her, and I think we were using deep conditioning masks as an example. I'm like, if someone needs a conditioning mask, one, do the 4 that you have really perform that different? Not really. I mean, some of them, maybe one is targeted towards blondes, one is targeted towards something else. But I was like, get rid of 3 of those 4 deep conditioning masks. And then when someone says, I need a conditioning mask, it's like, bingo, here's what you want. And then they're going to purchase it so much easier. And the statistics have shown us that that is the case.
Yeah.
So finish your thought, because I know that I interrupted you, because I know you said it was my advice you're following, and I just wanted to give credit to Britt in that little portion. But how did you scale that down, and then tell them how much your retail sales have gone up since you implemented that?
So I just looked at every product and I was just like, okay, if I were to pick one of these, which one would it be? And then I just got rid of the rest of them.
Yeah.
And so it was instant that I felt the difference and saw the difference. So a client would be like, hey, I'm looking for a product for this. And it was like, here you go. I have this one. This is awesome.
When did you fully start implementing this?
I think we talked about it in August, and then September, I really dove into it. So, but my product sales went up 60% this year.
Okay, 60% this year when she just started implementing it 3 months ago.
Yeah, that growth was in the last 3 months.
So I do think people need to take note of that. If you are sitting on, I would say any more than 12 as a single stylist, I'm very proud of you for going from 100 to 25. But if you are sitting on more retail than, like, because we think, oh, we need to solve people's problems, the more options we can give someone, the better, our chance of selling is going to be. And Kim is a testament to that. She cut her retail actual SKUs inventory overhead by 75%, and her retail sales instantly went up 60%. Amazing. Yeah. Okay, let's touch on price increase then. And then I think we'll kind of roll into a little bit more just recapping how you want the 2025 to go. Okay, so increased your retail sales by 60% just in September. So tell us about earning a price increase for the first time. Because I remember you said this is the first like true price increase either in a very long time or ever. You used to just do adjustments. So tell us what it was like to earn, which is how I coach, is emotion free, just math based, earn a price increase and kind of how you rolled that out this year.
So I knew it was getting to be time because
Mhm.
it had been 2 years since I had
Mhm.
restructured my pricing.
Yeah.
So since being on my own, because I have such a thing about money that I'm trying to work through,
Yep.
instead of just saying your prices are going up, it was like,
Mhm.
okay, how can I restructure this so that I'm not focused on your prices are going
I'm
up,
never telling someone that I'm raising my prices.
but also in a way that made sense for my business. I started
Totally.
a la carte. I quickly realized that I felt like I was nickel and diming people. I
Mhm.
felt like if you get a highlight, you need a gloss, like they shouldn't be separate.
That shouldn't be an option.
So my first price increase was just going into session pricing. Yes.
Mhm.
So I did session pricing and I liked that. That was okay. But I also then realized that someone with your hair getting a highlight and then someone with short fine hair getting a highlight,
Mhm.
like it's the same
Those
service.
sessions aren't really fair. Yeah.
But if yours takes 3 hours and hers takes an hour and a half, like how is that fair that you
Mhm.
guys are paying the same? So
Yeah.
then I really buckled down into doing hourly pricing, and I knew I wanted to get rid of gratuity. So
Mhm.
that's what I did 2 years ago. I went to hourly, I got rid of gratuity. I have loved it,
Good.
but I have sat on it for 2 years.
Well, and now you didn't have an excuse because you've loved it. It works, but now you were due for a price increase. And she was like, I have nothing to hide behind. I can't take away
Exactly.
gratuity anymore. I can't change the packages anymore. I want to stay hourly. And I'm like, but Kim, you're worth more than what you're charging per hour. The math is showing us your new guest requests, how booked your schedule is, how overbooked your schedule is. Like you have to let go of some people. So what month did you roll that out and how much did you go up on your prices?
I went up $10 per hour.
Okay.
And my brain was like, I'm going to do less than that. I don't want to make anyone
Mm-hmm.
mad. And then in the call, you did the math for me, which
Mm-hmm.
I had done the math myself. And I knew,
Sometimes we just need someone to hold it up in front of us.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so you were like, you need to do it. You need to do it. And so I just started, I was like, I'm not going to think about it anymore because when I've done my last price increases, I would think about it for, 6 months. I would
Yeah.
think about it. I would rewrite stuff. I would overanalyze. And that goes back to like the business obsession.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm just going to work on changing everything. I'm going to redo it in my website, like before I can really think about it. And then, yeah. And then I think it was our November call. I decided I'm going to
Okay.
roll it out December 1st.
So it's just now started rolling out. How are people responding? Because I know that's everybody's biggest fear. So how are the responses going?
Well, my fear was like, everyone's going to leave me. People,
Mm-hmm.
same with my schedule. Who does she think she is? Like, what does
Mm-hmm.
she think she's doing? And you told me, you were like, stop thinking that because
Yeah.
you're you're worrying about things that aren't happening. And
And whether you're woo or not, I am woo, so I'm gonna put the woo spin on it. But I remember Kim like saying, "Can we just like role play a little bit? Like, what if somebody says this? What if somebody says this?" And I'm like, "Sure, we can if that makes you feel better, but like, why are you even putting that energy out there? Like, why are you inviting in
yeah,
all of these negative thoughts and comments from your clients? And have you received any of those yet that we could have played out?"
no, I got a couple emails that were like, good for you. One of my clients told me, I'm really proud of you, like in person. I got one text asking about the price increase, and
Fair.
instantly in my body, like started getting
Yeah.
anxious. And then I was like, okay, Kim, take a deep breath.
Mm-hmm.
Is she mad or is she just asking? And
Mm-hmm.
she was
Mm-hmm.
just curious because she actually didn't get my emails about it.
Okay.
So she was just double checking, like,
As she
and
should.
which is
Understandable.
totally,
She's spending her money in your business. She has every right to know. Yes.
totally.
Yeah.
But just having like, especially my Soul Tribe girls, like just being able
Mhm.
to say, like, what about this? And how do I do that? They've been in Soul
Yeah.
Tribe for a while.
Yeah.
So they like held my hand through it, like every step of the way.
You could get a client that one no longer can afford you. That's understandable. That's the point. That's why we do them. Is it a bummer? Absolutely. I always say go have coffee with that person if you want to keep that person in your life. You don't have to keep doing their hair though if it doesn't work, financially for everybody. You could have someone that flips out and calls you names and says, "You're entitled. Who are you to do this?" We would obviously help you with verbiage if that time ever came, but I just find that people make up such more extreme circumstances pre-price increases. And again, it's emotion free. So you are only doing it if it is earned by math, nothing that our brain can tell us you've earned it because you've, taken classes. You don't deserve this because you only work 3 days a week. Like any of these stories we tell ourselves, it's basically only based on supply and demand. And so I think that's helpful. I received a polo this morning actually from somebody in Soul Tribe who just rolled out a 30% price increase, which that's the highest tier that I coach to. I would say don't do any more than 30, but even 30 in this climate right now, like not a lot of people are earning 30% price increases right now. A few years ago, everybody was earning them. Right now, not everybody is, but she had a lot of personal reasons. She wanted to really, really, really scale down her clientele. And I said, well, why, if you are obsessed with all of your clients, let the prices be what chooses who leaves and who doesn't. And she just sent me a polo this morning saying that it rolled out, I think on the 15th actually. So yesterday, and she was waiting and waiting, and she's going into it very like abundant, focused. Like she's really not struggling with it too much. I'm very proud of her. And she was like, the only response I've gotten thus far at the 24-hour point is somebody new booked an appointment. Everybody else is like, good for you, good job. And I said to her, I was like, that just shows that the energy you put into this change in your business, she really is in a place where she wants to work a lot less. And it worked really well. So I'm glad to hear that you haven't gotten any major kickback, which then I think going into 2025 now, Kim, the money will kind of take care of itself. You've created all of the structures, all of the systems. You're like, obviously, there's still things I need to do for my business. And I said, maintenance. And you're like, yes, exactly, maintenance. But it's not something that you have to have your brain in like creative overdrive for anymore. You're like, I've spent the last however many years creating something that you really love. You've earned a price increase. You have your dream schedule. If you listen to this 1 year from now on December 16th, 2025, what are you hoping is your situation then?
Well, it's like you said, I feel like I've finally gotten to maintenance mode where it's like, okay, I really feel like everything it feels right, it fits my dream clients. I really love the people who come in my salon. I used to have days where I would look ahead at my week and be like, "Ooh, Tuesday, I'm going to be so anxious in the salon."
Yeah.
I can look ahead. Even this week, it's Christmas week coming up, and it's so busy. And
it's like a gift, every client that you have.
So excited about every day that's
It makes
coming
me
in.
so happy.
And I 100% did not feel that way a year ago. So I am really, really excited to go into 2025 and just really be able to put my focus on my personal goals. Because when I go back and I read my journals from a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, my personal goals they've been the same every year, but they've always been overshadowed.
Isn't it weird that sometimes the business stuff is easier for us to crush? So will you say out loud what some of the personal goals are for the sake of manifestation and Kim of the future? Like what would you like to say actually happens this year in 2025?
Okay, in no particular order.
Okay.
I want to have hobbies. I have
Hell yeah.
I have a piano that I have totally neglected. So I would like to learn some songs for the piano. I actually want to learn how to read music. I'm going to baby steps into that.
Yeah, take a little class for that or something.
Yep. I have been telling myself I'm going to get a tattoo for the last 5 years. Plenty. But
Okay, you just
are ready for the next one.
Okay.
So I'm ready for that. I want 4 trips this year for traveling. Yes. I already have 2 definite. So I'm going to try and figure out the other 2. Hopefully Soul Tribe is one of them.
Hopefully Colorado in September is one of them.
Yeah. I really want to focus on my physical health. I am naturally, I stay the same size. Yeah. So I feel like sometimes I'm less motivated to try to do things because I don't really fluctuate a lot. Yeah. But I'm really looking to I want to feel stronger. So I'm really hoping to get into a consistent workout routine. I love walking in the summer, but I live in New Hampshire and it is freezing out in the winter time. So I'd like to be able to do something so that I feel like I'm nourishing my body with that all year round. So I'd really like to get into that. Yeah, I also deleted social media off my phone. So I'm trying really hard to be present with my children because they're growing so fast. And I feel like it's crazy how much it takes your attention away from stuff.
Those are good goals. I'm really excited to receive a polo from you a year ago and say, like, I just listened back and I'm proud to say that all of those things have. And then who the hell knows where you go from there? Because, like you said, these have been your goals for years. And I've kind of hit that point too, where it's like, I don't even know how to dream beyond where I'm at right now. And sometimes that will make me very uncomfortable as somebody who used to have like tons and tons and tons of dreams. But now I have realized that like I have to be a little bit more patient for my next like big goal or big dream to come. But when they come, they're like way juicier and way more exciting. And it's just a interesting and cool and kind of scary place to be in, really, because I think we are also our stories. And sometimes we identify as that, you know? So I hope maybe I'll have you back a year from now and we'll hear how the personal life went in 2025 and then we'll see what's kind of in store for you from there. So thank you, Kim. Is there anything that you think we didn't touch on that you wanted to mention, or do you feel like we covered all of our bases?
Yeah, I feel like the only other thing that I really feel like I have gotten good at this year, and I totally credit it to the girls in my group,
Yeah.
is being able to just be very confident in the decisions I'm making. And, you know, sometimes in the moment, I'm like, oh my God, this is happening. What do I do? And they're like, no, this is what you want.
Mhm.
You're going to write a nice email. So just being able to turn away things that I know are not going to light me up and just really trusting my gut on when something comes through. And I'm like, I don't actually want that. And I feel so grateful to be at a place where I can say, like, I don't need the money for that. I don't want the money for that. It's not worth how it's going to make me feel. So just having the support of all of my 13 ladies, just to be like, no, like, you know what I mean?
Stick with it. Yeah, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. And the accountability to remind you, because sometimes we even forget. We get in the heat of the moment, our people pleasing, our old kind of things come up, and we're like, no, 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 this is what we want. And having someone to hold that mirror up and say, no, it's definitely not. And then you're like, oh, yes, you're right. Thank you for that reminder. It's really valuable and really helpful. So thank you, Kim. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Like I said, I will not be uploading a podcast episode for the next 2 weeks. So I will miss all of you. On January 2nd and January 3rd, we're going to be doing a vision casting workshop. There's going to be a replay. You can totally catch the replay. And like you said, your vision is really personal, but I do still really encourage you to make a board, do all the things you need to do. Sometimes we think when it's personal goals, it's not as important to do that. So I really, really urge you to do that. So I would love for any and all of you to join us. It is free to register. There is a $25 VIP upgrade if you want to upgrade, but you don't have to. You can totally register for free. Everything all about that will be in the show notes. So go ahead and check that out. Kim, thank you again. I know you were terrified to do this. Thank you, thank you, thank you for coming on, for sharing your story. Do you mind if I link your Instagram as well? If this touched anyone and they want to stay in touch, is that cool with you?
Yeah, that's totally
I
fine.
know it seems kind of silly, but like you said, you found me back on that very first podcast episode I was ever on, and you're very ingrained into my life now. So you never know the connections that can form from something like this. So I will have all of Kim's information as well as all the vision casting workshop information in the show notes. And I will talk to you guys all not next week, but next year. So I hope you guys all have a beautiful holiday season. And thank you again, Kim. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you for having me.